Good morning. So today is day 4, and we got set up at our campsite, which was great last night. And then all of a sudden, like everything was set up. Thankfully, Piper ran to the bathroom, and on her way back, she said, "There's lightning in the sky." And I'm like, well, there doesn't seem to be any kind of storms like showing up on the radar that are supposed to be hitting. And so I was like, it's a ways away, and like, let's enjoy the view. We got hit with this freak out of nowhere storm. Thankfully, she was like, let's put the rain cover on. And I didn't want to because I wanted to be able to see the sky. And she's like, we really should, because the lightning was really starting to pick up. It still looked a ways off, and even when we would hear the thunder, I was counting, so I'm like, okay, it seems like it's like 5 miles out. And she's like, I'd feel better if we just put the cover on. I'm like, okay. So we get up, and I'm trying to go to sleep because I got to be up at 4:30 to come into work, and it's like 10 by this time. So we get the cover on, and thank God, because first it just got so windy, and I was really worried because when we set up the tent yesterday, it was gorgeous out, but the wind was really, it didn't seem that bad until you're trying to put up this huge 12-person tent. It took us like an hour and a half to put it up. At first, it kept blowing. We get two of the poles in, and or two of the domes in, and the wind just kept blowing it down, blowing it down, blowing it down. And so I have a little fit, and then I'm just like, let's not do it. And I'm like, we'll wait. And Piper says, well, about 7 o'clock the wind's supposed to die down. So we wait for about 45 minutes or so, and we're just kind of looking around the campsite. It's really nice. And so we're just kind of enjoying what's to be seen. And we try again, and so I'm having her hold the poles up, and I'm trying to climb in. Can't see, I'm all caught up in all of the tent and all of the netting, and I'm trying to like put containers in it to hold it down while we're trying to stake it. Anyway, we do finally get it up. And so anyway, so back to last night, so we get out. Thankfully, we put the cover on the right way, because the first night, me and my nephew put it on like upside down or backwards or something. It still, covered us because it was 38 degrees out. And so we got it on right. We were able to get everything together. Well, when the wind picked up so bad, I was so worried that it was just going to pull the whole tent. Like we were just going to be in the wind. Thank God that didn't happen. And it started pouring. I mean, it was a thunderstorm. And poor Piper, I'm exhausted, so I'm kind of dozing through this, and I can hear the wind, and I wasn't even so worried about the rain, because she's like, well, there's metal parts in the tent, could we get struck by lightning? And I'm like, we could, but we're not touching any of the metal, so I think we're okay. And so I think that had her nervous. And but the dogs were fine, and they're usually terrified of thunderstorms, but we've been running them like crazy, so they were exhausted. Well, anyway, a huge storm hit, and it was all night, and the wind was just blowing and blowing. Good thing is, so the tent stayed put, thank God. And also, the tent itself is really waterproof. So I was super excited about that. At one point, I'd woke up through the night and thought that the tent had leaked, but it was my big tumbler had fallen and poured out all over. So, so that was, that was good. So we know that it's a really good, durable tent, and I paid a lot for it. So that's good. But the wind just whipped and whipped and whipped all night long. And I had the two windows open. I didn't want to, but because we were getting chilly, but I was just so scared that it was going to blow the tent. So I was like, okay, at least the wind could like whip through. So even through the rain, the the tarp that went over the top, or whatever it's called, I call it the hat, it even kept the rain from really coming in through the windows. And as much as it was blowing and everything, so all of that's great. so that, that all worked out wonderful. But when I woke up, I was just in such a state. I was just like, my hands were swollen, but I think they were swollen yesterday too. So I'm not sure if it's from being outside, being on the hard ground. I don't really know, but I was very swollen when I woke up again this morning, and it was like my hands hurt. So I just woke up and I was just like, oh my God, what am I doing? And, all I could think was, we cannot live like this for, the next 2 to 3 months. And I was just really felt defeated. And I'm like, so on my way to work, and I'm just like, this, we're, of course we're going to have rough days. Of course we're going to have rough days no matter what, but especially now, because we're trying to figure everything out. And the good thing was, though, Piper, she was, she's up playing on her phone. And before I even woke up, and at like 4 a.m. I saw her on her phone. And so, but she didn't seem in any kind of state like I was. And she even like got up whenever I left for work. She was sitting out on the picnic table with the dogs. And so I was so worried about that. I was like, she like, oh my God, I hate this. So anyway, as I kind of got moving, and I've been on my bus this morning on my run, and I'm feeling a lot better. And I mean, we're figuring it out. And I just got to stop worrying and just enjoy the ride. So it's been a whirlwind of emotions. It's been exhausting, just trying to figure out. The van is smaller than I wanted it to be, and so trying to finagle all of that has been quite challenging. And there's still a lot of stuff we need to get, and to help us with with the organizing, and with forms of energy that we need. So it's just figuring out all the bells and whistles. So I am feeling much better, and I've got just more determined. I wasn't able to do any of my morning routine, and that always just really just throws me for a loop. But it was a rough night. It was a rough night. We didn't get to just lay there and watch the sky above us. We got to, it was a beautiful evening. We had such a great time together. And that's what's most important. The dogs are being bratty, and they're not, we set up camp. I have a long 20-foot lead for each of them, and there's like hooks in the van because it's a transit van, so that's cool. So there's like big steel hooks like on the floor. So I hooked them into that, which I kept the side door of the van open for them. That's like their little bed area. So I'm like, okay, they've got shade. Then I had them close enough to the tent that they could get into the I set up the bed and the food and water, that they could go into the tent as well. And every time we tried to walk away, because they have all these things you can do. You can go kayaking, you can go bike riding, you can do the paddle boats. They have all this stuff that we wanted to go do. They have a volleyball court. And every time we'd walk away, the dogs would just go crazy barking. And like, we are like by ourselves on the campsite, because we're the only ones like in the primitive camping area. So we're surrounded by all these RVs, and like people are looking at us. And Piper, we tried like 5 times to walk out of sight and, kind of like hide behind a tree, and they just kept barking. Annie was barking till she was hoarse. So we tried that for several hours, because I really, well, Piper did too. We really wanted to go kayaking or canoeing or something, something. It was beautiful yesterday. They are being so bratty. And then we took them to the dog park, and, we're like, come on, girls. And, they're not listening. And I'm like, oh my gosh, who's the master here? So, trying to, figure that out. These dogs literally hadn't left the house, besides, going for walks, but they literally hadn't left their home in 5 years. They, I drove a sports car. They couldn't get in my car. So they literally, hadn't left, and now they, you know, they got uprooted from their home and they don't really know what's going on, and we're, you know, in a different place all the time. They're having a great time, but they also, you know, they want us with them at all times because they're scared and they're nervous. And so I get that. So I'm hoping that part will get a little easier. And I did forget they were difficult to travel with when I had the big old school bus that was converted. And that that was so much easier. This is so much different. You know, I was expecting to be a lot like the bus, and this is just so much different because the bus was like, it was a house on wheels completely, and it was completely wired, and you know, had electricity, and had, you know, the water hookups, and we don't have any of that here. We don't have any of that. So it's a lot different, a lot different. So anyway, I know that was a lot to throw at you, but I really needed to get that out. And we are, you know, everything is figure outable, and I will figure it out. And Piper and I had a great day yesterday. We had a lot of fun. We were playing, and I loved seeing her look happy. So that's most important, and that fills me up with gratitude and hope and determination. So have a great day.